Hello again. So what we're going to do in this video is get you started on Bino Age 2. And in this case, what we're going to try and do is ask the question, what is the probabilities and what is the cost structure if you fall in between an age group? So in this case, I'm just going to use 28 and 64. So the first thing we need to do is set up our proportions. So we need to count how many accidents are occurring between the ages of 28 and 64. And what we're going to do here is use an array function. We've already done that with a frequency. So there's multiple ways to do this. Array functions tend to give you the most control. So we're going to use a function called count, and then we're going to use an if statement. And the if statement is going to ask the question. It's going to control for being greater than 28 and then being less than 64. So we want in between these two guys. And it's going to be greater than or equal to. So we're going to go to our account data. And we're going to click on our ages. You know how to do this by now pretty well. So we'll just click on the first one, Control Shift down to highlight everything. And then we want it to be greater than or equal to. And we'll come back to our age and pick our age function. This is actually just going to be Q2. And then we're going to ask another if statement. So if this is true, then we want to check if this is true. And we're going to check again on our age. We're going to highlight our ages and go down. And then we want it to be less than or equal to our second age. Now, if both those are the case, then we want to count it. And we want to use as the counting function just the age group again. So we're just going to come back to our ages and pick and Control Shift down, and then end it with parentheses. We have 3 here that we need. You know, so it's turned black, so it's balancing out to the other black one. And then because it's an array function, we do Control Shift Enter. So in this case, I have 7,953 accidents out of my sample that are 28 inclusive up to 64 inclusive. So now my proportion is simply going to be, and I'll click on that, and now we're going to divide by, and we're dealing with age, so I go to the age column and just pick the number. So now our proportion, or our parameter for the binomial distribution, is 0.62369. All right. Now the next thing we need to do is calculate what is the average value of an accident if we're inside of that group. And we're going to use an array function again, equals average, and we're going to pick our ages. Pull up to the top, Control Shift down to the bottom, and we want it to be greater than or equal to, and we'll pick our minimum age, comma, if, and we're going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy and hit Control C and just paste it in. Just another way to get to the same position. And then we want that to be less than or equal to our age. And if both those guys are true, then we're going to pick our group to go ahead and average. So, and that's going to be the accident costs. So now I'm going to go ahead and click here, Control Shift down, and then end the parentheses. Should be 3 parentheses. And then we do a Control Shift Enter to end it. Minor error in the formula. If you get this, just go ahead and hit yes. So here's our average. I guess I needed 2 parentheses instead of 3. Now I need parenthesis if. And my other parenthesis back here. Now Control Shift Enter. There we go. So this should be the equation that you have in your system. And then I'll go ahead and turn that into a dollar value. Now I want to show you one other thing here. I'm going to go ahead and come in and hit F4 to lock these guys in. Alright, so at this point I should be able to go ahead. Oh, because you have to hit Control Shift Enter. Actually, I got to go back up here and then hit Control Shift Enter. Anytime you get in here, like I got in there and I just hit the return button, it's only calculating 1 point at that point. So you have to come back, highlight, and then Control Shift Enter to get the value back. So I'm going to Control C and then I'm going to Control V here. That's the same equation, right? So if I want to do, if this is the inside, let's do the outside. And this is where you run into a problem in Excel. So I want less than or equal to, and on this one I want a greater than or equal to. And then again, my Control Shift Enter, and I get this divide by 0. Now without question, there are a number of accidents from people that are less than 28, and there are a number of accidents from people that are greater than 28. This means that it can't find any, and that's just an issue with Excel. If you try and do an outside evaluation, it runs into problems. So we need to do a workaround for it. And basically what we need to do is find the average independently on each side. Let me go ahead and delete that. What we're going to do here is a summation. So now I'm going to use a sum if. Trying to get it typed in correctly. Sum if. And then we want our age put in. So we're going to control on our age. And then we want to do that. Now we're going to use a comma, quote, greater than, quote, and then our ampersand, and now we're going to pick our high value. So that's the 64 that we're interested in. And I'm going to next, we're going to pick our accident data. In other words, the costs. So now we're going to come back here, pull up to the top, and then go ahead and select our data. Now this isn't a array function, so I can just hit return. So that's my total that I have that are above 64. Now we need a count associated with it. How many accidents are there? So now that we're going to use a count if function. Of course, we could do this with an array as well. We're just selecting the count if functions. So we want to do a count if. And now we're going to highlight our ages again. And then a comma. Comma. And then again, and quote, greater than, quote. You can see it a little bit better. And then our ampersand, and now we're going to pick our 64. So there are 909 accidents of people that are greater than 64. So we're going to do these guys again on the sum low. So I'm going to just lock in these F4, 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 F4. Do the same thing here. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and do a copy, Control C, and then paste them down here, and then we'll just edit to get things to work correctly. So now we want less than, and this becomes Q2. Everything else stays the same. And then this becomes, again, less than, and we want a Q2. All right, so we can't just take the averages of these two guys and average them together because there's a lot more accidents in the lower age group. So we need to control for the total number of accidents. So we're going to come up here to our outside and enter our final equation. So this is going to be equal to the quantity of our two values for the total of accidents, the sum, and then we're going to divide that by the quantity of the total number of accidents between the two groups. Alright, so now we have our two accident values, and at this point we're ready to go and do what we've done multiple times. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that to you. So this is the proportion you're going to be using. I'll just do one here real quick. Again, it's equal to Bino distribution. This is at most, so we pick our at most number, lock that in, comma, the number of trials, lock that in, comma, our probability, which is just a proportion, we'll lock that in, comma, and we want one for cumulative. And there we have it. So then we'll do our at least, etceteras, at least exactly, and then move it over to the other side, and then again down here, it's equal to if, and we select our number, and if it's less than or equal to the number of trials, F4, comma, and then we do our Bino again, and at this point our number of trials is here, our number of successes is there, our number of trials is here, F4, our probability is over here, F4, and then we do not want it to be cumulative at that point. And then a comma, and then, okay? And then you'll calculate your expected value, so it's 0 if, and then 0 times the inside plus number of trials minus quantity of successes times the outside. Multiply the two probabilities together, and then up here you'll just do again the different sum functions as we've done before. Alright, so I'm going to end the video here and let you go ahead and work on how to go ahead and finish this up. And make sure when you do it, I mean if I go to like one of these, that you test it. So I might go 20 here. Make sure that everything goes down correctly, that my values make sense. I can change my exactly so that I'm picking up the right number, and then check my 5. It should be 3212 on this one, and should be 3497 on that one. So we just want to make sure that once we've got the spreadsheet set up, everything's working fine. Alright, well, thank you very much. In our next set of videos, we're going to do our two conditional probabilities, and then we'll be done. Alright, thanks. Bye.